Hello everyone, this is Kinga Tanajewska. Welcome to Ride and Talk with Angie Jukes and I.
Greetings everybody! It's always a pleasure to chat with inspiring individuals, and Kinga Tanajewska is exactly that. Someone who isn't afraid to chase their dreams of seeing the world their way on her bike. And that's the name of her website and YouTube channel too, On Her Bike, where many of her stories are documented. But don't head there just yet, because Kinga's here right now, and as usual, she's got a lot to say about her many adventures with Chile, her beloved F800 GS. Listen up. Hi there, Kinga. Welcome to Ride and Talk. It's great to finally pin you down for a chat.
Thank you so much, Andy. It's nice hearing your voice again. It's been ages, hey?
Yeah, it's been a while, hasn't it? I mean, I say pin you down for a chat, and by that I mean that you're the one that's always on the move. The first time I interviewed you, I think I was riding across Australia on an F800 GS, and you'd just done that and gave me some really good tips, especially about the grey nomads. And the last time I saw you, we were together in the Gobi Desert in Mongolia at the GS Trophy.
Exactly. That was, 2018, hey? Last time I saw you.
Yeah, 2018. And now you've just arrived into Europe, I believe, from Africa. So it's 3.5 years since I was on the road, but you're still out there. How do you manage it?
It's my life now. Look, it's been really last year and a half was pretty much write-off for most of the people, right? Like we couldn't travel, but I sort of find a way. I stuck in Europe during the lockdown in 2020 for 9 months, but then I managed to go back to Africa in November last year and pretty much rode for another 8-9 months, and now I'm back to Europe for the summer because I just need to sort out my health issues for the start, and then just have a little break from riding because I'm actually tired.
Yeah.
9 months straight riding, it's just like, yep, I need a break now. And it's nice to be in Europe, summertime. So I'm see the friends and family, and yeah, it's nice. It's very nice to be back.
Yeah, totally understand the need for a break. But let's put this into perspective for a minute, Kinga. Can you summarise for us, if possible, where you've been so far and how far you've ridden?
Sure. So I've been on the road traveling around the world for 4 years now. I left Australia in April 2017, and pretty much this is my life now since then. Of course, we have had a few pauses for injuries, broken legs and COVID, right? But even when, I never went back to my engineering life for the last 4 years. So I'm pretty much living the nomad life. Yeah, I'm homeless.
You certainly are, yeah. Now, let's go right back to the early days, if I may, because you grew up in Poland. So I guess your early riding experiences, what was the first bike that you ever rode? Not the first bike you ever owned, but the first bike you ever rode.
Well, I learned how to ride on Junak. It was a Polish motorcycle. They produced it, I think, just after the war for only a few years. So this is like our legendary bike that, it was their thing back then. And of course, now it's sort of like a veteran bike, it's a collector's item, even in the 90s. But so in 90s, you could see people, that could still have them somewhere because of the grandfather who had it, or, and they restored it or something like that. So that was my very, very first motorcycle. And that was the Junak with a sidecar. So all I had to just get my head around, not the balance, but just starting, clutch, gear, brake, that sort of like move to, just few meters, just ride few meters, get used to the bike. So that was my very, very first bike I've ever ridden. Yeah.
Junak, what sort of size engine was that then?
I think it's 350, something like that. But it will look big. It looked big. It's sort of similar to Ural, that sort of feeling, you know what I mean? That sort of generation of bikes, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. Oh, fantastic. And what about your passion for motorcycles in the first place then? Who inspired you? Where did that come from?
I'm not sure, but since I was a kid, I always liked motorcycles. And when I was a teenager, I was coming to Warsaw or somewhere where there were big parades and rallies, and I was just looking at these bikes and I'm thinking, oh my God, I just really want to ride a bike. My father used to ride, but, he stopped when I was 7. So it's not like, I grew up with a bike in the garage because of my father. I'm not sure. And then I just basically asked my parents if they can buy me the first bike after my, finishing during my, last year of high school. So yes, I pretty much started riding when I was 16, back in the days in Poland. And in 2005, I immigrated to Australia. And I remember we had this chat when I've completed my trip around Australia on my very first GS 800.
So what was it that made you want to emigrate to Australia then?
You know, when I finished university, I knew if I get a job, I will not be able to travel because, you know, you've got responsibilities and that sort of stuff. So I said to my parents, Australia was always my dream. And I told my parents, I just need to go there after my university and then just get it out of my system, and then I will start looking for a job. So pretty much I sold my motorcycle because I had to buy a ticket to Australia, and I had to have, money for the start. And tickets back then were so expensive. Oh, now you're paying 1/3 of the price, what you used to pay. And that was it. And I just, packed up and went. Didn't know anyone. And 6 months later, I met my ex-husband, future husband to be, and then ex to be. and I stayed, and that was my life. We were together for 10 years. I lived in Australia for 12. And that was it. Yeah. So I worked in the pubs, and then I finally got my foot into engineering and, construction industry because this is my background. And I lived a really good life. For me, Australia, it's my home. Poland, yes, I'll be always Polish. I am Polish. My parents are from Poland. I've got family there. But my place is definitely Australia. And I've seen a lot of other countries. And even until now, I think if I have to, start from the scratch, I don't know, stop traveling and then move on with my life or settle down somewhere, definitely I'll go back to Australia.
Yeah, I mean, if I recall, you found a job in the mining industry, didn't you? I visited a couple of Australian outback mines somewhere in the middle of nowhere in Western Australia. It was Roy Hill Mining in the Pilbara region.
I've worked there too.
Okay, well, you know that it is literally, proper outback, isn't it? But that's a really, really tough life for those who work there, isn't it? But I get the impression that you're a pretty tough cookie yourself.
It was the best job I've ever had. Oh, I enjoyed it so much. So I worked like 3 weeks on and then 12-hour days. And then they flew me, to Sydney for 1 week. And that was pretty much, fly in, fly out. 3 weeks on, 1 week off. I loved it. I loved working in the desert. I loved that it was so remote and you really need to sort the problems there. It's very important to have a good team, and I had brilliant team. We really got along, and so it was really, really great experience. So this is the only job I can actually think of going back to. Everything else, like 9 to 5, no, definitely not.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of ore that still needs to come out of that mine, that's for sure. So it was in Oz that you bought your first adventure bike, wasn't it? Tell us what made you go for an 800 GS. It
was very random. When I started working for Hanson, because that was, I'm civil engineer, I specialize in concrete. So I got a job with concrete company in Sydney, but as a graduate. So I was on 2-year graduate program where they could relocate me anywhere. So I went to my boss and I said to him, listen, I need to go around Australia on my motorcycle. Can you just send me somewhere? And he said, yeah, sure, go to the mines in Western Australia. So, okay. So I had no idea what the job was about. I had no idea what I'd be doing there. I just knew I have 1 month to do the, half of Australia, the northern part. And then I have to work there for 6 months. Well, that was the deal at the start. And then I can come back with my bike through southern part of Australia back to Sydney. And of course, I stayed at the job 1.5 years because I loved it so much. But that was pretty much it. And why I picked 800 was really random. When my first bike in Australia was FZ6, just this naked bike, which was great for zipping around the city. And I went to my very first Australian rally when I met riders. And rally in Poland, it's like a big event with a stage and lots of bikes and music and beer. Here in Australia, it's not like that at all. I mean, maybe there are some, for road riders, maybe the rallies are look differently. But for ADV riders, you pretty much arrive to the bush and you have a campfire, nice talk, and that's it. So that's how I met first ADV riders, by chance completely. And I was telling them, guys, I'm going for this trip around Australia. I'm planning it now. Like, what bike should I get? Because I was always on road bikes and sports bikes, right? And they were all on the GSs. Like, just get yourself a GS. Get 800 because it's a little bit lighter. And I had no experience on gravel, none. This is pretty much how I've chosen 800 GS. I just went to the dealer and I said to them, I have no money. Could you just, I'm going to take a loan, so could you just throw jacket, pants, helmet, gloves, panniers, everything, because I'm going around Australia. And they're just like, yeah, no worries. So yeah, that was it. And then, it's like, I'll have money later. I'll pay it off later and worry about it later.
I like your style.
Yeah, that was it.
I think you put around 30,000 kilometres on that bike around Australia, documenting your adventures and gaining a strong following. But I believe that bike, it got destroyed, didn't it, on a head-on collision? So what exactly happened there?
Yeah, so going just around Australia, it took me 19,000 kilometers. But of course, I was riding the bike after as well. It's just bad luck. I was in this mountain pass and the car hit me head on. The girl was unexperienced, it was wet, so she blocked her wheels and came to my side of the road. And, broken hand, broken leg was something that I could deal with, but post-traumatic stress was so heavy. I couldn't stop crying. Andy, I was just crying and crying. I could see this car coming over and over and over again. And my ex rolled me on a wheelchair to the psychologist. Lucky, I was entitled to psychologist because I knew I could not shake that off by myself. And she said, you're already halfway. I said to her, I don't know how you're going to do it, but you have to put me back on a bike. I am so scared. I don't know how, but you have to do it somehow. And she goes, you're already halfway there, because people who have head-on collisions with a car, they don't want to go back on a bike because of the trauma. Your brain is registering that you're going to die, and they don't want to do it anymore unless they're going for the therapy like me. Otherwise, it wouldn't be possible for me. I really wouldn't. So the 10 months of therapy really, that's the only reason why I'm back on a bike. And it was very, very painful therapy. But hey, I'm back on a bike and enjoying it again. So that's good.
And so once you'd sort of recovered from those physical and mental injuries, I guess, you went out and you bought another 800 GS. Pretty
much. Look, I love 800. And I think this bike is just crafted for me. 1200, yeah, it's a beautiful bike to drive around, beautiful torque, but the moment you load it, it's very heavy. And when you're traveling solo through remote parts of the world or even Australia, it's like a tank. It's just, for me, it's too heavy. 800 loaded is very heavy itself, but at least it's a little bit less. And you still get the comfort of the big bike. And the 21 inch at the front, it's just, I love the height of it. I love everything about this bike. So there's modern bikes, there's different types of bikes. Oh, it's just so much now, right, on the market. But for me, 800 is still by far my favorite bike. So I will ride it until, I don't know, Chile decided not to ride anymore. But she's still in very good shape after, 100,000 kilometers. So I think we still have a few years ahead together, so I'm not changing it for sure. Yeah.
Good stuff. So you did the Australia trip, and of course the dream at that time or after then was, I think, around 2017, it was to ship your bike to South Korea, yes, and from there continue via sea to Russia, and then basically ride through Mongolia and the Stans, Iran, Turkey, and towards, home or original home in Poland. So you've kind of done that, haven't you, albeit in a roundabout way?
Yeah, pretty much. So that section between Vladivostok, right, to Europe, you're really limited with time. I think it took me 8 months, and I was rushing. There's so much to see. Mongolia, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Iran. So now when I'm traveling, I'm allowing at least 1 month in each country. On that stretch, you cannot do that because there's too many countries and you have to rush. I started riding in Siberia in April when it was still snowing, and I arrived to Poland in November when it was about to snow, So it's really, you're rushing. So I felt like this year of traveling, yes, I've seen a lot, I would do it completely different. I would just like to slow down now.
Yeah, so would I. It's a big mistake, and it's a mistake I made as well. It really, really was. And there's only one solution, isn't there? Sort of go back and do it again.
Exactly. Yeah.
But you also added Africa into the mix.
Well, it makes sense. I'm in Europe, so it's just like you go to the bottom of it and you enter Africa. I'm trying to go around the world, so of course Africa had to be on my itinerary. And I was so scared to go out to Africa. I was so scared. I thought it's going to be bad. It's going to be dangerous. I'm not going to be capable of riding the roads. I had like really, I don't know, not in terms of low expectations. I had a lot of fears, right? Before I entered this continent, because that's all we know. Africa is wild and you're on your own, and lack of servicing, lack of everything. Now I'm in Africa in total over 2 years, and I'm even mentioning about this break, for COVID. And I haven't had even one bad experience. The bike was going smoothly. People were great. Nothing was ever stolen from me. Everything was just so smooth. I absolutely fell in love with Africa. And I'm thinking, Mongolia was like the hardest of the hardest I've ever, like the harshest country. I mean, you've been to Mongolia at the trophy, but riding Mongolia on your own, especially as a woman, when I have no respect for women, it was really tough. It tested me on so many levels. But Africa, nothing but just great experiences. And I think, maybe because I'm on the road for so long, I'm traveling in a different way. It's just, and I'm not in rush. It's like I don't have to get there before winter because it's always warm on this continent. So you sort of move around, trying to avoid the rain seasons. But apart from that, you're good to travel all year round. So, yeah, I absolutely love Africa. But, this is my plan. This is my plan for today because it keeps changing. But if I dreamed about doing West Coast, so that was my plan. I'm going to do the East Coast of Africa and I'm going to do the West Coast. So I was thinking, 2.5 years and I get out of this. So now, by the end of the year, I'll be like 2.5 years over in Africa, and I think I'm ready to move to another continent because West Coast is still closed. People got stuck in Morocco. They can't get out. It's just still very shifty and you don't know what's going to happen. So I think I'm going to leave the West Coast for later, and I'm going to ship my bike to Americas at the end of the year. I'm ready for another continent. You know what I mean? New chapter.
But great to hear such a positive story about Africa from you. And I've heard that from a lot of people as well, and totally understand the fear factor before arriving. But just out of interest, you mentioned Mongolia there and riding across, and of course you came to the GS Trophy in Mongolia. The next GS Trophy is in Albania. Now I know you've spent a little bit of time there as well, maybe rushing through a little bit too fast, but riding with the locals and exploring the country. So would you say it's a good choice of destination for the next trophy?
Yes, I think it's the place to be for the trophy. Albania is, I think, on the top of the list of countries where in Europe where you still have the freedom, and you don't need a route. Just pick your road and go. And you've got for hard enduro riders, you got all sorts of levels. It's biking heaven in terms of, ADV riders and enduro riders. It's incredible. I think it's a perfect place to have GS Trophy. Absolutely.
Now, just out of interest, how many kilometers has that GS got on it now then?
100,000. She just
100,000. Good on you.
Yeah,
wow,
she's still very
incredible.
Young.
Yeah, plenty of life left in her, yeah, for sure. When I set off on my round-the-world trip, I was determined to travel solo for the freedom, the independence, and the maximum experience factor. Can you explain to our listeners why you also think that this is the best way to travel, even though it's not necessarily the safest?
So for me, from my experience, my bike is my safety net. When I'm near my bike, and let's say Egypt, very difficult country to get in, lots of police checks and lots of bureaucracy. They make your life miserable. And then if you're a backpacker, blonde girl in Egypt, you pretty much feel uncomfortable all the time because there's whistling, there's this, there's that. It's quite disgusting. I don't know how backpackers do it. I would die. But if I'm with Chile, no, I have so much respect. People, men feel intimidated. They don't do stupid things around me. So for me, riding a motorcycle as a woman actually empowers you, and actually people they have this respect for you. And another thing, they want to look after you because you're solo, and that would be to women or men or anyone, right? Because you're a solo rider, so they're interested in your story. You're more approachable. People invite you to the places, and it's really nice. And I think it's the way to travel solo because you experience so much more. And even as a solo woman, I think you even experience more than a man because, for example, if you're traveling through the Middle East, I get to talk to women and men. You as a man are only limited to the company of guys, right? So I actually experience way more. So I think it's the way to go, Andy. I couldn't do it in a car. I couldn't do backpacking. I couldn't do hitchhike because bike gives you such freedom. And you just pick whatever road you want. If you're feeling comfortable with, you just go. And you wake up every day and you do what the hell you want. It's just great lifestyle. Which is very addictive. I don't know where I'm going to stop when. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, there'll be a lot of people listening to this, many with adventure bikes as well, who just love the idea of giving up the trappings of modern life, selling everything they own and literally riding off into the distance. But I do also understand, and I know that life on the road is no holiday, because I've seen how hard you work cultivating content for your channels and making sure that the experiences and the stories are there for your followers. And that takes a massive amount of effort, doesn't it? On top of what it takes, the energy that it takes needed to haul your fully laden adventure bike around the world. So you have to explain that a little bit, because you're working your way around the world. It's not a holiday, is it?
No, it's not, actually, I call holidays when I'm not riding my bike.
Yeah,
this is my holidays. I came to Europe. This is my holidays. Chile, parked somewhere else, and now I can relax. Of course, it's being on social media, active on social media. They call it influencers, whatever people call it now. But if you choose that path, and this is my job, because I am making money on YouTube, so I provide content, right? To make money, I need to provide content. It's a lot of work. It's just full-time job with a lot of overtime, and it's definitely every 6 months I get so tired, and I get so tired. I have billions of pictures to post, and I have nothing, no captions to say, nothing, a complete burnout. And it happens to me because there's only so much you can take. Like, you're traveling, you're organizing, crossing the borders, then you work on your content and provide, all of that constant work. So yeah, of course you burn out. And that's why I know every 6 months I need to have stopped for a month at least. Not riding my bike, just fly to Australia or Poland, have a reset, and then go back on the road. And then I'm enjoying it so much again. I was like, yeah, I'm back on the road. I'm so happy. But at the end of this 6 months, was pretty much where we're calling me now, because I just came, landed in Germany. And I'm so tired. I am so tired. I just really want to have a week in bed and watching movies and not thinking about anything. You need to come down, need to reset my body and my mind and everything. When people see us online, it's like, you've got the life, no stress, you always look happy. Well, there are bad moments as well, but why would you whinge about? I don't like whinging about things, because I get still live this life, which I would never swap for anything else. Yes, it's hard work, but it's so worth it, because I've got the freedom. I rather having these stresses that I do have on the road or with my whole social media thing, than going back to engineering and having that stresses and job that requires from you a lot of attention as well, and you have no work-life balance because you overwork and very, very tired all the time. So yes, I prefer having this life, and yeah, but it's not so easy as people think.
Absolutely, yeah. What about your bike? What kind of bond have you developed with her? Because I'm always blown away by how much a relatively simple piece of machinery can literally open up the world for you.
I have such strong connection with Chile. It's like she's my best friend. It's like she's with me, in these good times, in bad times. Sometimes I really mistreat her and throw her, here and there and everywhere. And then she's misbehaving and just not doing the things that I want her to do. But it's like a human. It's like my best friend. I talk to her all the time. That she's going to do good job, and she's performing very well. I said, don't break now, because we're in the middle of nowhere. No flat tires, please. At least not today. So definitely my bond with Chile is just so strong. It's like she's a human. She's my best friend. And like you said, it's your ticket to freedom. She's giving me this lifestyle. If it wasn't for her, you know what I mean? I wouldn't be able to experience it all. So it's incredible, but that's for all of a lot of riders say the same thing. It's the bond with your bike. It's just so strong, especially when you take it overland, because there's just two of you, isn't it? And no one else. So yeah, it's very strong.
Yeah, a lot of people talk to their bikes, that's for sure. But what about your riding skills now compared to when you started your adventure journey?
Andy, I think my riding skills are getting worse. Actually, because I don't push myself.
No way.
I think so, because I'll tell you why. So before I took off for the trip, I have a lot of training with BMW, and then of course GS Trophy. I really pushed my boundaries and learned so much, because you're in that group in that moment, and you're going with the good riders, and then it's definitely I broke the mindset of riding on sand on a big bike at the GS Trophy. I cracked that fear. That was my breaking point. But when you're riding in a group, especially in a group with the good riders, you improve your riding skills. You learn from them. And I'm traveling now by myself all the time, and I'm very conservative. So I don't take risks. Plus, I'm heavily overloaded. So it's a completely different technique than you just like jump on a unloaded 800. Completely different. And I think because I'm by myself and I'm always have this if I'm at the point, it's like, should I not take that road? I don't take it, But I'm not saying I'm restricted because I'm riding big bike. Absolutely not. I always, it's only in this like, should I do it or should I not? Okay, I know it's rain season. Should I take that risk because I know it's going to be a really challenging mud in the front of me? Should I really take it? You know what I mean? Or maybe I should just take paved road and wait for the road to dry out, or maybe wait until the rain season before you hit the off road because I'm by myself. I don't want to break my leg in the middle of nowhere in Zambia or Mozambique or whatever. So I think my skills are getting poorer. Although I'm confident, I'm not scared of riding. But I feel like this technique that you have on unloaded bike, when you stand up and you throw up, it's like, I don't think, I think I should be doing some trainings here and there because I'm just,
Yeah, there's always room for improvement. But I think, like you say, there's a big element of self-preservation in what you do, and you don't want your trip to end prematurely. You don't want to get injured. And as you say, you're carrying your life on your bike. So I totally understand all that. So, but what about after all this time on the road, though, Kinga? Do you think it's impossible now to go back to a normal life, whatever that is?
This trip's going to have to finish someday. For sure. I'll get old eventually, right? I can't be a gypsy nomad forever. And maybe, one day I'm going to wake up. It's like, okay, I think I've seen enough. Okay, I'm ready to start my new chapter. And then I'll do that. But until then, I'm just going to enjoy my life as it is because I really do enjoy it, yeah.
Good on you. Are you financially secure, if that's not a too personal a question?
No,
does that even matter to you?
Yeah, of course. Money is big stress, right? So normally on the road, I'm spending 25,000 a year. So I had, at the time, when I was leaving, I had literally 50 grand in my bank account. And I sort of estimated it should last me with no stress for 2 years' time. And then, like I said to you, I ran out of my money. I had to sell my apartment. But at the moment, YouTube is making me enough money to live simple life on the road. So that's great relief, right? Because money is always stress. Oh my God, it's the worst thing that's stressing me out the most is money. And I think it's for everyone, right? If you have a mortgage, if you're in debt or whatever, or if your job is not, you're not getting paid enough, you've got the bills to pay and family to support. Money is the biggest stress for all of us human, right? So of course it's very important. But I finally got to the stage where, YouTube, and I opened this online t-shirt shop where people can buy t-shirts and they can support my travels this way. So everything, all the little income here and there, it's enough for me to travel without a stress, which is great. It's definitely very, it's a relief.
Yeah, absolutely. Eliminating stress is half the battle for sure. Do you still get scared of anything when you're on the road?
I don't get scared. I get angry. I'm not angry, but it's just like irritated. And this is when I told you 6 month mark where I'm starting to be burnt out and everything that suddenly irritates me, normally I have the time for the kids and I've got stickers and I talk to them and I love engaging with people and kids. And then after 6 months, no, I think I need to be by myself all the time. I don't think I can be around people. It's like, Kinga, you need to stop because you really, everything irritates you. And I get snappy, at the borders. Every border crossing in Africa is the same thing. There will be people there who try to, for little fee, try to sort out your paperwork. And I normally have all the time for them. It's like, no, I don't need you. I cross so many borders. I'm capable of doing that by myself. Thank you. But if it's that mark of 6 months nonstop riding, like, no, I don't need your help. Leave me alone. So this is the attitude, sometimes, but it's normal. Like, it's normal to be grumpy when you're on the road for so long, but I don't get scared. Last time I was scared was in Mongolia and Azerbaijan. And that's the only time, really, the only occasions on my whole round the world trip where I was really frightened for my safety and my life.
And that's a while ago, so...
Yeah, exactly, 3 years. So it's like, it's nothing.
That's really positive to hear. So are there any places that you've been on your travels, because you've seen so much, where you think, wow, I could really settle down here, put some roots down maybe?
You know what? For the first time, it happened to me when I entered Namibia. And I just came back from Namibia, right? I actually rode into this country, and that for the very first time, I was thinking, wow, I think I could live here at least a few years. It's so beautiful, but maybe I had this thought because it really reminds me of Australia. It's very remote. It's a huge area, huge country, and only 2.5 million of people living there. You've got a lot of deserts, which remind me of Australian outback, and limited off-road gravel roads. So just, in this last 5 weeks, I did 1,500 on riding on unpaved roads, like non-stop. I didn't even see asphalt, It's just so beautiful, and people are super nice. And people from remote countries, they've got completely like different mentality. They're very helpful. So if they see you on the side of the road, they will stop. They will ask you if you're okay. Aussies are exactly the same in the outback. This is the mentality of remote countries. So actually, for the first time, I actually thought, oh, Namibia is nice. I think I could live here sometime, for some time, yeah.
Yeah, I've heard a few travellers say that. That's interesting. But what about keeping yourself healthy on the road? I mean, there's nothing worse than having deli belly or equivalent when trying to hustle a fully laden adventure bike down dusty roads in the heat. What do you do to keep yourself healthy?
Yeah, so I'm actually a very bad example of keeping yourself healthy on the road, because I really don't eat well. I mean, I do eat well if I buy food, but if I'm traveling through remote places, all I have is canned sardines and instant noodles. So it's not like I'm eating healthy, and probably that's why I lose a lot of weight while I'm traveling. But last few months were actually quite tough on me, because I got bilharzia from Malawi lake. It was this parasite that lives in a lake, and I just caught it from swimming in a lake. And since then, I had so many complications, pretty much chronic bladder infection. I was just on 5 sets on antibiotics in the last 4 months. And that's why I'm so tired as well. It's not just because of traveling, but with all the health issues you had to deal with. And I think that was the worst for my health since the beginning of the trip. Yeah, every now and then you would have food poisoning, which is normal, but that's very rarely happens. And I think the longer you travel, your immunity gets stronger, and you're more resistant to these bacteria, especially the ones that are in food. But yeah, these last few months were in that good run, and I'm really, really looking forward to seeing proper doctor here in Germany and actually seeing what's going on and why is it keep happening to me.
Putting some weight on as well, and drinking some beer, and eating some good food. What about those listening who are desperate for their own motorcycle adventure, Kinga, but maybe don't feel they have the courage or the ability? What's your advice to them?
I think if I could do it, anyone can. And I thought exactly the same, that I'm not capable, that it's going to be too hard, what I'm going to do if my bike breaks down, how I'm going to deal with the stressful situations. It's normal. Before a trip like that, it's normal. We all have the same fears. Every single person. Andy, when you were going for your first big trip, overland trip or round the world trip, you were worried too. Like, we all are. Until you ship up your bike. I don't know, I had to ship out, yeah. I shipped out my bike. I was just so scared. I was getting onto that plane, to Korea, and I'm like, oh my God, this is so scary. How am I going to do it? Am I capable? And then you put your bike together, and you start your engine, and then first gear down, the rest up, and off you go. And bit by bit, you just get used to being on the road. You know your rhythm. You know what how to behave, and you learn. It's a learning curve, right, for all of us. But for all these people who think they're not capable or they're scared, just, there was someone who said the sentence before I was leaving for around the world trip. Never listen to people who haven't done similar things, right? So of course, only the bad things gonna come out from people who haven't done similar things. So they're gonna tell you you're stupid, it's irresponsible, or you're gonna do in this and that situation. But people who've done it will never say you this. People who've done it's like, yes, don't wait, do it now, because it's gonna be the best part of your life, and we all have to do it while we can, right? Like, don't postpone it.
Yeah, just go for it. Yeah. I'm with you on that one. Do you feel grateful for the life you have? I mean, so many people in so many places, they'll never have these kind of opportunities. I mean, that is just the reality. Not everybody can do it, can they?
Absolutely. I pinch myself every day, and I can't believe I can live this life. I never thought it's possible. I had career in Australia. I was married, and I had a mortgage for the house. I thought this is it. I made it as an immigrant in Australia. I've done so well. I'm earning good money and having all this, great lifestyle. And I thought, this is it. This is how I'm going to be just living with my husband for the rest of our lives. But just think things happen differently. And I really had to reach rock bottom and be depressed and miserable. And, with a lot of stresses on my head too, I actually said, okay, enough is enough. I need to start a new chapter. And, maybe it's easier when things go bad, it's easy to make that call to leave everything behind, yeah? Because if you have a great life, great relationship, great job, it would be very hard to leave it all and just go, right? Because of the responsibilities, because of the relationship and everything else. But if you have nothing left, I think it's easier. Or everything is bad. So it's like, okay, time to start something new, right?
Yeah, there's usually a background story to these things, these decisions, isn't there? That's it. Very interesting. So where does the future lie for you, Kinga?
For next few years, definitely out there in the world with Chile. And then we'll see.
And finally, Kinga, where can people read and see more about your adventures?
Well, in terms of reading, I'm very bad with my blog because I pretty much stopped writing it because I just don't have time. Although maybe I will catch up during this summer break in Europe. So my blog and page is onherbike.com, but they can, every week I'm posting new video on my YouTube channel, which is On Her Bike, and they can follow me on Facebook and Instagram.
Superb. Well, listen, thanks so much for talking to us today. It's always inspiring hearing about your adventures. Thanks for being our guest on Ride and Talk, and we wish you the very best for whatever lies ahead on your journey.
Thank you so much, Andy. It was nice chatting to you. Thank you so much for taking interest in my story and your time for this chat.
Thanks, Kinga. 100,000 kilometers already, and so many places still to see, eh? Keep riding and keep posting about your adventures. It keeps many of us going until we can plan our next ones. That's it for today, everyone. I do hope you enjoyed this episode. Stay safe and see you out there soon enough. Bye for now.